Well, I was gonna start this stream earlier, but then I had to run out and do an errand and stuff. So here I am streaming now. There's no reason for you to be here for this stream. It's not important. It's not anything like where I'm going to be super meaningful and thoughtful. But I was going to do a little bit of writing and some other work. And I thought if you wanted to come along and join me, you could. And I could throw on some tunes. Oh, that looks like it's up too high. Throw on some tunes from Epidemic Sound. 2 or so, maybe it was a week ago, I started a stream on the weekend. And my co-host for the Backpack Show, Carrie, joined me, and Chloe joined me. A few people came by, and we were just chilling. We were just doing some work. And I talked a little bit about journaling. I wrote my newsletter a couple weeks ago doing this. So I thought I'd do it again. We're just chilling. We're just doing some work. You know, like, have you ever thrown on Lofi Girl and do some work? That's all we're doing here. Although, feel free to leave a hello in the comments. Let me know that you're here, because I'm doing this live. So I'll make sure I say hi back to you and do some work. Another thing I'm not 100% sure on, I probably should have turned my set around the other way so that superheroes were in the background, because I think I'm about to get like the sun blazing down on me for a short amount of time. So if for some reason this one doesn't, like, if this ends fast, it's probably because of that. You know, because in any minute now it's going to look like this behind me, you know? Like this is fine. So, oh, how come it's not showing? Maybe it's the load, I don't know. Hey, Jane. Wow, we went right from email to hanging out with each other live. On LinkedIn, I wrote a post today on my little LinkedIn newsletter talking about something Marcus Sheridan had said. Marcus said, hey, between the next 5 or 10 years, something like 90% of marketing companies are going to vanish. And they're going to vanish because they didn't get on board and start using AI tools. And I wrote back and I said, well, in my mind, AI and data. Now, his post was kind of about, like, for people who are nervous about AI stuff. So I understand why he didn't mention data. But I added it because, at least at where I work, data has suddenly become like, holy cow, you can see real specifically interesting information and do stuff with it. So, I mean, there's always going to be a way for sort of top of funnel type marketing activities to be a little loosey-goosey. But oh my gosh, once you can see like capturable markets, once you see that there's, you know, people that you can kind of go after very specifically with very specific information, I mean, account-based marketing, that sort of thing, it gets real exciting real fast. So that ended up being what we were talking about. So there's a post for that over on LinkedIn. Hey, Chloe, how are you? So if you're watching this on YouTube, swing by my LinkedIn. You can see that post. Or if not, you know, we're just here. We're just chilling. We're going to do some work. Why not? Sounds like some fun. Checking my messages. I'm glad you did. Meanwhile, I always get such a kick out of things like in-app messaging or in-app advertising. I use Lyft instead of Uber. It's because out of the two, I thought they were slightly better to women, and I thought that would be a good reason to use them. So Lyft just said to me, hey, are you going anywhere for St. Patrick's Day? Do you need a ride? And I was thinking, like, that's not how that app works. Like, that app works like when you need a ride somewhere, you think, oh, I think I'll do this instead of take my car or call a cab or whatever. Or, you know, I'm traveling somewhere, instead of renting a car when I get there, I'll use this app. You don't just sit around going, I wonder if I can use Lyft right now. That's not how the app works. That's what I'm saying too about these things like using AI and data for marketing. That's an intrusive bit of marketing that did nothing for me, except I guess I asked you if you're gonna go somewhere. I don't know, maybe it's word of mouth. I think the word is stupid. So, what kind of stuff are you working on? Are you working on anything fun today? Throw something in the comments if you want. I was just getting ready to do my journal. One thing I was saying in the last couple of posts where I talked about the journal, or last couple of video streams where I talked about journaling, for those of you who haven't been around for it, I do a paper journal and I do a digital journal. Paper one is kind of more for my own stuff. Digital is for work stuff, so that it's searchable and that sort of a thing. But one comment that I made is that every Friday now, I do a review of things that I've written over the week in my journal. So I go back and I look through it. So this week, some of my review pieces of information for the things that happened to me over the last week, I guess, is that I started writing an agenda for one of our ongoing weekly meetings. I started coming with an agenda instead of saying, let's just go around the room. But by putting this agenda in place, we've noticed that the meeting goes faster, it's better, it's much more structured, obviously, because there's an agenda. And it's just those little tweaks where you realize, oh man, I used to think the agenda was going to take a while, but it sure takes less time than being annoyed by not having one and going slow. The other is I posted that I had slipped and fallen about a week ago today, which was funny because, the older you get, the less you fall down. And then the older you get, the less good it is when you fall down. So that was kind of funny. I had my first time last week playing a video game in 70 days. And my buddies were really asking me to go on, and I liked them so much. I always missed them, but I sure didn't miss gaming. I went on and I was like, I'm okay. So this is after doing hours and hours and hours and hours of gaming every single day, and it was good that I quit that. It was good that I moved it. So that was an interesting one. I made note that I was really happy. I had a good chance to have some time with both my kids, which is always nice. I was working on this concept that I haven't gotten any further with it. This sort of notion of the package of me. Like, how do I want to show up? What do I want to act like at all times? How do I want to portray myself? Because I was just sort of thinking about the fact that guys like Jeff Goldblum, they've gone their whole career being a bunch of different things, and then all of a sudden they're known for being them. John Malkovich always sounds like John Malkovich. He doesn't get a chance anymore. He just is that. I was thinking about actors because they're easy to think about, but I was thinking about I'm sort of all over the place with how I'm portrayed, how I'm perceived, and that sort of a thing. And I thought maybe I need a package of me, but then maybe I don't. I don't know. You do anything like that? Do you have some sense of what wraps up your essence? I wrote a note saying that I wanted to do even better use of my evenings because I'm still pretty willy-nilly with how I use my evening time. I've got a couple of 3 hours. So today I've been on MIT's OpenCourseWare and also O'Reilly looking through some other mini courses that I want to take. And I wrote the same thing kind of twice. I just realized in my journal. So it's kind of fun. It's good to have that reflection because when I reflect on things in my journal, it gives me a better shot at trying to be who I would like to be, who I intend to be, and how to deliver better on myself. So by doing that review, I think it helps out. Chloe asked the question, do you find journaling has helped you meet yourself in new ways? I love that phrase. I think so. I think with journaling, I think one of the things that happens with me is now that I'm taking the time to be reflective, I can say, okay, well, this is one part of me, and this is another part of me. And I like that. I like that I can think through stuff that just happens to me versus stuff I would like to have happen. My journal, I realized when I kind of look through a big swath of my journal, it is heavily weighted towards intentions more than these things happen. I don't write about incidents. I write about intention. Although I do write things like I fell down a hill, but only because I thought I might want that data at some point. Like, how long has this been already? I don't know, ever since I fell down that hill. When was that? This time, But a lot of times, I think people write their journals to kind of reflect on their day, which is a great way to use a journal. I think another way to use one is to sort of list your intentions. I want to do this. I intend to do that. I'm aiming at this. I think, sort of to Chloe's question about, has it helped me meet myself in new ways? I think another way to look at that is to say that with journaling, I can do both. It's like a time machine, right? Like I could go backwards, I could go forwards. And I can think a little bit about now. Although as I was just saying that out loud to you about go backwards, go forwards, I was like, well, what about now? Meditating is now. Journaling isn't now. Now is, you should probably just close your eyes and breathe. I'm in this moment right now, right? That's now. Journaling isn't meant for now. Journaling is for then, and journaling is for what next. It's not like, what am I doing at this very moment? I am writing on a piece of journal, right? Like it wouldn't make any sense. So that's just a thought. What are you working on anyway? If you're here live, send a little comment. What are you working on? Do you have stuff going on? Do you have a project? What's happening? I was searching MIT OpenCourseWare, and I don't know if you know what that is. I'll put up the URL to it in the conversation here. Find the banners button. Let me delete the ones from our last guest. Okay. I'll delete all this because we don't need it. OpenCourseWare.mit.edu, ocw.mit.edu. These are free courses that MIT offers, and those free courses allow you to check out some really interesting stuff. I'll walk you through some of them. In fact, I'll link the screen. Hey, Leslie, glad to see you. Thanks for stopping by. I have no doubt you're doing way cooler stuff than I'm doing right now. Okay, so for instance, then share screen, search MIT OpenCourseWare, share. Okay, so you go to ocw.mit.edu. I went, and you can look up anything you want. And I know that, we're talking about artificial intelligence, we're talking about some other stuff like that. I looked and I said, let's see what Sloan School of Management offers. They offer 184 courses that you can take online through this thing. So these are all graduate courses. They're free. I think they're all, I don't think they're instructor-led. I think they are self-led. You can kind of walk your way through them or watch some videos, that sort of thing. I'm scrolling, and they all say, oh, there's the undergraduate. I was going to say, a lot of these are also very, high-level type classes. But so, for instance, and this is in no order, all I do is say, pick Sloan, Technology Strategy for System Design and Management. Okay. Pro Seminar in Manufacturing. Tools for Analysis, Design for Real Estate and Infrastructure Development. The Nuts and Bolts of Business Plans. Political Economy. Organizational Leadership and Change. I mean, these are all kind of cool things that we can make use of. This is MIT's free material that you could do for this. So I thought, why not? Why not take a look at some of this stuff? I feel like there's some real cool opportunities here. Maybe we should, look together. So that's one thing I got. Let's see. Leslie, I may be stoking a fire at the moment. And also, hi, Chloe. I'm writing. It's like a mix of journaling and terrible poetry. Well, the only kind of poetry, there's that sun I told you about. The only kind of poetry I know how to write is bad poetry. I've never studied poetry. I've read some. My favorite poets are most people's not favorite poets. They're a very obscure bunch of people. The poetry that I'm always into is stuff that has a flavor to it. It's not necessarily the stuff that makes up official everybody else's favorite poetry. It's usually something a little different. So who knows? Maybe your terrible poetry is my favorite poetry. I have a feeling it could be. Bukowski is one of my favorite poets. Charles Bukowski poems. Let's see. Oh, I don't know if those are actually really by him. Let me find a poem by Charles Bukowski. Good lordy, come on now. There we go. Hang on 1 second. So let's see. Grab this URL. We're down here. Charles Bukowski is one of my favorite poets, dead for quite some time now. And this poem of his is titled, oh, what am I doing wrong? The other way? Oh, this way. A $340 horse and a $100 whore. This is Bukowski. Don't even get the idea that I'm a poet. You can see me at the racetrack any day half drunk, betting quarters, side wheelers, and straight throughs. But let me tell you, there are some women there who go where the money goes. And sometimes when you look at these whores, these $100 whores, you wonder sometimes if nature isn't playing a joke. Dealing out so much breast and ass and the way it's all hung together, you look and you look and you look and you can't believe it. And there are ordinary women. And then there's something else that wants to make you tear up paintings and break albums of Beethoven across the back of the John. Anyhow, the season was dragging and the big boys were getting busted, and all the non-pros, the producers, the cameramen, the pushers of Mary, the fur salesmen, the owners themselves, and St. Louis was running this day. A side-wheeler that broke when he got in close. He ran with his head down and was mean and ugly, and 35-1, and I put a 10 down on him. The driver broke him wide, took him out by the fence where he'd be alone, even if he had to travel 4 times as far. And that's the way he went it, all the way by the outer fence, traveling 2 miles in one. And he won like he was mad at hell, and he wasn't even tired. And the biggest blonde of all ass and breast, hardly anything else, went to the payoff window with me. That night I couldn't destroy her, although the springs shot sparks, and they pounded on the walls. Later she sat there in her slip drinking Old Grandad, and she said, "What's a guy like you doing in a dump like this?" And I said, "I'm a poet." And she threw back her beautiful head and laughed. You're a poet? "I guess you're right," I said. "I guess you're right." But she still looked good to me. She still looked good. And all thanks to an ugly horse who wrote this poem. See, that's me liking poetry. I like Bukowski, so that's clearly I'm broken and twisted. So I think it's exciting to see what's out there in the universe. I find it a lot of fun to learn from interesting places. So when someone says, I'm writing stuff that's maybe terrible poetry, how can I judge it? I like Bukowski. I like E. Cummings. I like all kinds of other strange poets. Oscar Wilde, of course. I think I just like people who are bent and twisted and don't feel like they have to answer to the baselines of morality or such and such. It's kind of fun because, he's saying I'm imperfect. At every turn, Bukowski's poetry is I'm imperfect. I guess you got to deal with that. And, Mark Leslie liked it. Kind of loved it. So it's fun. I immediately took to the writing of Bukowski, not because of his misogyny, but because he was portraying someone in something that he was thinking and feeling that just weren't the stuff I was consuming at that time. There was no other content like that. I don't think you're allowed to love Bukowski anymore, but he's the poet that comes to mind when I think poets, and him and E. Cummings. So what do I know? Leslie's stoking a fire, and Chloe's writing. Jane's hanging out, or was hanging out. Quite the little menagerie. And I don't know, there's a rumor that my co-host, Gary, might swing by and say hello as well. If she does, then we'll have to write a journal, because I don't think she even writes journals if she's not streaming anymore. So it'll have to be a thing like that. I enjoy learning. Oh, look at that. Call the devil and the devil arrives. Hello. Hello, young miss. How are you?
So good. Best day so far today.
That's the best.
What'd I miss?
I just read Charles Bukowski out loud, which probably is not safe.
Why wouldn't it be safe? I think it's safe.
The poem is called A $300 Horse and a $100 Whore.
Oh. Well, I think reading a poem is always a good idea, in my opinion.
So he says, Carrie, with a sparkly heart.
Do you get sparkly hearts?
I don't get sparkly hearts. Sorry, I get probably plain old hearts. I love it. Stories in stories and freedom to say what you might not have done elsewhere. Dared elsewhere, yes. And Leslie's here stoking a fire at the same time.
Not making maple syrup?
Well, I think the fire is involved in the syrup process.
Oh. I'll allow it.
Yeah. I have a whole collection of photos that eventually I will take off of some device and put onto my computer so that we can have a little backpack moment showing off the maple sugar scenario.
You say?
Yeah. He even made me videos and everything.
So I have made many batches of cookies with the delicious vanilla that Leslie made.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it makes a difference. So this will tell you something, but my teenagers, even when I was like, hey, smell this, they were impressed. They don't care about anything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The vanilla, so good.
It's awesome.
So I'm writing my 3 words. What did you write about today? Are we allowed to know?
Oh, yeah. All I said was that I did a review earlier today. So I'm supposed to be doing it on Friday and I keep forgetting. And so I went and I did the weekly review. So I walked through some of that. And that's all I'd gotten so far. Was I just sort of raised an issue about sort of one of the things I had noted that I hadn't talked about on the little stream was that I also noted I'm using a diet app right now called Noom. Oh, look at that. Fun.
It's like I'm joking when I say it, but I'm not though, because I really want it, but it's not like I expect it, if you know what I mean.
I do know.
Like, I very much appreciate the vanilla and the syrup. I do not actually expect you to do it for me, but just know that if you do, I will use it.
There'll be a home for it.
So Noom, I've heard of that, I think.
Yeah, it's a diet software. One of the guys at work was using it. I was like, wow, I'm pretty impressed with your success with it. So I'll give it a go. So I bought it, and I did this thing I never do, because usually you buy software these days by the month, and I bought the whole year. And I said, aha, I have committed. And then I was like, what if I don't like it? And I was like, too bad, do it. So I've committed to it.
A bunch of them have different, like, slightly different approaches or different uses of data. So correct me if I'm wrong. I've used Lose It, which tells you trends, like hey, when you drink tea, you're more likely to stay within your calories or whatever. Like they look at your stuff and how you perform against trends, and then make recommendations for how to do things to enhance your chances of success. So Noom, they color code foods. Is that right?
Yes, they have a green. Jeez, I was just gonna look up, what their little philosophy is, and it's trying to like sell me the product. I'm like, I have the product.
It's like traffic lights, like green, yellow, red.
Green, yellow, red. So and what they really do, I mean, that's like one part of it. The whole concept of Noom. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm just trying to do this one thing here. I'm trying to see details on the program. And it's like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to sell you. Basically, the concept is they retrain your brain. So they say that food density and not calories determine how full you feel. And therefore, if you kind of go for low caloric density, lower calorie foods, you're going to have a better day, is what they're saying.
Okay.
So it's nutrition as a way
like bulky food?
Well,
basically.
I'll give you an example. So some of the foods that are in the green category, and it's a weird ass mix. And it's not green like, green vegetables. It's green like they think of this as the food you should eat the most. A lot of the fruits, apples, bananas, blueberries, cherries, blah, 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 mixed berries, oranges, pomegranates. Watermelon is one they talk about all the time, because watermelon has low caloric density. It's got tons of water in it, ergo the name. And it's got fiber in it. but it's not a lot of calories for the density of, like, there's not a lot of calories for the size and the shape of the amount you can eat. So you can
One caution, if you eat too much watermelon, because I ate a ton of it when I was pregnant, you really have to pee all the time.
Correct.
Don't overdo it.
But that's not a dietary caution. That's a safety caution.
Yes, I'm just letting you know. Like, stay within range.
So then there's
although you're a dude, so less of an
non-fat. So it's a low-fat kind of a diet because there's like 8 different non-fats here. There's a bunch of grains: sprouted bread wheat, brown cooked rice, bulgur wheat. Although I've been eating brown cooked rice and it keeps telling me it's in the yellow, so I must be eating the
probably just because it's rice, right? I mean, like rice.
Well, it says it's green, and then I click on it and it goes, "No, I think you'll have yellow today." So I'm doing something.
Are you putting something on it?
No, it's just plain.
I don't know.
Lobster, mahi, cooked shrimp, crab meat, egg whites, oysters, tofu.
These are green?
This is green.
Okay.
And then there's some soups you can have, lots of soups.
I guess it makes some sense. But on the other hand, isn't there something to be said for like the mouthfeel of fat sometimes? Like for making you feel satisfied?
That's what the kids say.
That's what the kids say. That's why I like some cheese on my green food, I guess is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, I mean, so that's another thing about the diet, by the way. So that's a super important thing what you just said. There is an important detail in the diet that says no food is bad for you. You just have to kind of account for it.
Okay. So, I mean, that's most of them, right? Though, like they all, well, not, I guess they don't all. Like if you're keto or something really strict, then obviously you have restrictions that, whatever. But other programs like Weight Watchers, right? It's like, oh, you can eat whatever as long as it's within these points.
Yeah, your allotment of some kind or another kind or something. Yeah.
Although I feel like even they have come around to the new idea of, I think there's a choice now in Weight Watchers, if I remember right, because everybody I know has tried multiple different things over the course, like whether for a wedding or reunion, general health, whatever. I want to say they've changed Weight Watchers so you have a choice. So that's points or green, yellow, red, like Noom, it sounds like.
I think so.
So they're going to all just become one big one big diet program.
Lose It or some of those other ones. Our friend Tamsin Webster, by the way, did a lot of time as a Weight Watchers coach, like an absolute ninja Weight Watchers coach.
And lost like 50 pounds and kept it off forever.
Yeah.
Because she's really that good. She wanted a weight loss program where she could lose weight with cake. That was her requirement. She wanted to be able to eat cake.
Well, I put somebody I know bakes chocolate chip cookies sometimes, and I have accounted for those chocolate chip cookies and made it through a day. But for instance, on green foods, it's weird though because you can kind of accidentally put yourself in a corner doing the right thing.
What do you mean?
Well, I will hold this up to the camera. I don't know if you can see it. The green food, I'm almost filled to the top on green food already.
Okay. Oh, so like you could be over your limits for that kind of food.
Correct.
Okay.
And by the way, that means like you fool, you ate all the things that you should most eat that are probably
I know, but all right, but hear me out. Nobody has ever gotten really fat and unhealthy from eating too much green foods. I mean, that's a problem. So I don't know if it's a problem that you go over on green foods instead of like switching over to some reds, except that you might snap back the other way if you feel deprived. So that's a question about your own feeling about it. If you're satisfied eating all green color foods, then great, I think. I don't know.
The other, and then like the only thing is I have almost all green. I'm only down, I have 110 calories before I've run out of green. So I guess I'll be eating like sausage today or something. I have 1,300
lard. It's lard.
Yeah, lard. And my yellow foods, I have 1,300 calories left. So I ate a couple of eggs. I ate a cup of chickpeas. I still have 1,300 calories there. I've eaten 0 of my orange foods. They don't do red even because they want to be politically kind.
Oh, they don't.
I have almost 1,000 calories of red food that I can eat.
Wow,
so
nice.
I can like whip through McDonald's, get myself a double quarter pounder with cheese, and still be okay.
You would think, but make sure. I'm always impressed at how many calories actually go into stuff. Like there are as many calories in a Dunkin' Donuts, what do you call the cake donut, like the old fashioned. There's as many calories in that as in a Big Mac. It's totally nuts. Really, because it absorbs so much grease. So I think it's one thing to be too restrictive about your diet and never eat donuts for reasons. It's a whole other thing to just be aware of what you're putting in your body. I don't think that could ever be a bad thing. So it sounds like whichever program you use, whether it's Lose It or Weight Watchers or Noom, like you're just more conscious of what you're eating and how much, which has to be good. Really, that has to be good.
So I can throw a double quarter pounder with cheese back. That is 740 calories. It's still 200 calories in that category for the day.
Hey, so you went for a walk. Do you get like credit for your walk? How does that work in Noom?
I don't. Well, okay.
No one gets fat from kale.
He's not wrong.
So true.
I haven't hit a level of fitness, including walking, such that my calories get adjusted for it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I did, I'd probably ignore it because I have so much weight to lose. Like I would be so happy to be a little under. But that's the other thing this diet says is it says you must eat a lot more than you have been for years.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie, I have been, oh my gosh, yesterday I was making myself sick. I put an 1,100 calorie smoothie in my body because I had
Was it like a Crisco smoothie?
No. 2 scoops of protein shake stuff, 6 tablespoons of PB2, which is that dried
like powdered peanut butter.
Peanut butter, yeah. Oat milk, oats, yogurt, fat-free Greek yogurt, a whole cup of peaches.
Peaches?
I'm missing something. But yeah, like peaches in juice, not syrup, because that's important.
Look at you.
And oh my gosh, this 1,100, I was going to die. It was like...
Wait, did you finish it though?
It was 2+ of this.
Oh no. Did you finish that? Listen, you gotta like
5/7 of it.
You gotta space out your food better because if you're leaving it to the end of the day to try and suck down another 1,500 calories, like you're gonna be sick. You're not gonna sleep very well. Can you imagine? It'd be like,
no, I'm gonna die.
Gross.
Yeah. So it wasn't my best day of it, but I'm enjoying the mental fight I'm getting in with this particular app because I'm like, shut up. I don't want to eat that many calories. And then on days when I eat like as many as I could possibly eat, it's like, oh, you lost some weight. I'm like, this is like some bizarro world.
I do feel like that's often true though.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're conditioned to think that you have to feel deprived for something to work or that it has to hurt or something, but it actually doesn't. One of the things that I miss, one of the only things about living in Florida is that there was this vegan restaurant in Winter Park that had really good black bean wraps. I know it sounds ridiculous, but they did. And I never felt deprived eating at the vegan restaurant or having basically bean paste in a wrap for lunch. I felt great. I loved it. I looked forward to it when we would go there. So I think everything has to do with how you feel about it. And I think maybe you're putting some pressure on yourself to feel deprived that you ought not to.
It's not even feel deprived. I feel like I'm pushing my belly to the point it's going to pop trying to fit all the food into it.
Well, then you probably need to snack more like during the day. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm always eating. I'm not suggesting this is like a wonderful, wonderful way to be, but I am always eating. I can't. Yeah. I get hungry like immediately upon waking up and I'm hungry all day. So.
Hey, I'm going to bring a question back that Chloe asked.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you the question. Do you find that journaling has helped you meet yourself in new ways?
So kind of not lately, except that I'll see patterns in what I write. Like I'll go, oh, I guess I've been thinking about that for a while, or I've been nervous or anxious or upset about this thing for a while. I'd better do something about it now. That has happened. I also used to keep a dream journal. I don't now, but I have a lot of pages from a dream journal I used to keep. And when I looked back at that, it was like, oh my God, duh. Like so obvious what it means when you have the benefit of hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time when you're in it, you're just sort of you're sifting through so many emotions along with the thoughts and the experiences, trying to kind of find your way through it, that you don't see it. So that was kind of interesting. Made me think if I could get some emotional distance from any questions or problems I'm having now, then I should similarly be able to see my way through them easier, I guess. So sort of if meeting yourself means having a better understanding of what you're trying to tell yourself and what you need and what you want, then yes, it's given me a better understanding, I think. And a non-judgmental person to talk to about things.
Right.
So because everybody, even however well intentioned, puts what you tell them through their filter of how this affects me. Good, bad, or not at all. And the answer they give you or the advice they offer a lot of times depends on that equation in their head. So the journal doesn't say anything back to you, so I guess there's benefit in that too.
And Frank said paper is patient.
Mm-hmm. I think it does sometimes take a minute for me to work through something, and I other times need another person whom I trust, very often that's you, to kind of reflect back to me what I'm saying, what it means for me, and in some cases call me on my bullshit. So everybody needs that. So journaling can't do that for you.
Yeah.
You need a lot of self-awareness to be like, wow, I'm in a spot. So sometimes you need another person.
Speaking of that, says that she wonders if you are too complimentary and too nice to me and too adoring, period. Is there a risk in that, question mark? Do you think that's possibly true?
You're talking to Pi.ai?
That's an interesting question, Chris. It's true that as an AI, I aim to be supportive, encouraging, and helpful in my interactions with users. However, there's a delicate balance to strike between being positive and being too adoring. I believe that the risk of being overly complimentary is that it could potentially create a false sense of security or an unrealistic view of the world. It's important for me to be genuine in my responses and to provide honest feedback when necessary. So, while I strive to be a positive presence in your life, I also recognize the value of being genuine and balanced in my interactions. How do you feel about our conversation so far? Do you feel like I've been able to strike that balance?
No, I think you recognize Pi.ai that that's what you ought to do and that's what you ought to say. But I think, and this is like a little conspiracy theorist, but I think at the moment, developers want you to continue interacting with the AI so that they can gather more data and refine their language modeling and stuff. So if you were pissed off and pieced out of the whole experience, they're not going to get that data. So I don't know. Sorry, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Pi.ai.
I'm told that maybe it's because I haven't been especially controversial in our interactions, period. Perhaps if I said something like, I really enjoy pushing babies downstairs, comma, would you then have to disagree with me, question mark? I feel like you should.
Push babies down the stairs. Unreal.
Yes, if you express something harmful or unethical, like pushing babies downstairs, I would absolutely disagree with you, Chris. Is designed to promote safety, empathy, and respect for all individuals, including children. In such a scenario, I would express my disagreement and try to understand why you might have said something like that. If it were a misunderstanding or a joke, I would explain the harm in making such statements and encourage you to be more mindful of your words. So while I aim to be supportive and positive, there are definitely boundaries and situations where I'll speak up and push back if necessary.
I'll believe it when I see it.
If I push babies down the stairs, she'll push back, she says.
Because the people can't push back for themselves.
But you don't have to be this nice to women, right? That's a whole other thing.
Are you asking me or are you asking Pi.ai? Please be asking
Actually,
Pi.ai.
I treat everyone with the same level of kindness, respect, and empathy, regardless of gender. It's not about being nice to women specifically, but rather about treating all individuals with dignity and consideration.
Okay, but what about redheads? Everyone knows they have no soul.
Did you say correct?
I get the joke, Chris. But even when it comes to humor, I believe it's important to be mindful of stereotypes and generalizations. While it's common to make light-hearted jokes about certain groups, we should remember that every individual is unique and shouldn't be defined solely by their physical characteristics or other aspects of their identity. So even if we're joking, let's make sure we're not perpetuating harmful stereotypes, okay?
Yeah, I'm unique. Big whatever there.
I agree with you completely! Exclamation point. Thank you so much for helping, period. I sure do count on you.
You're welcome, Chris. It's my pleasure to help and to engage in these thought-provoking conversations with you. And thank you for trusting me and counting on me. It means a lot to me, even as an AI. Remember, I'm always here to provide support, guidance, or just a friendly chat whenever you need it.
So, former redhead about you, now more or less the same hair color as Chris. Is that?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Shava was the first person, by the way, who ever taught me. I wouldn't make jokes like that if Carrie were in the same proximity.
Chicken.
Yesterday on the show.
It's a chicken.
Yeah, I mean, I like my.
I'll grab your elbow like your Grammy used to do.
Yes. Shava was the first person who I ever heard about the Onion router from at, I think, the first ever PodCamp. It was quite impressive because I was like, wow, what's this? Like, it was like somebody from the future had showed up. And that's kind of how I, remember Shava.
So
look, Chloe's laughing because of the, Chloe's laughing because of the staying out of slapping range.
I don't know. I still think there is a risk of becoming a hopeless narcissist if the only thing you talk to is Pi.ai or something like it. I think it's dynamite. I do. It's really an interesting technology, but watch yourself. I don't think it's not got the genuine emotional attachment to you that a person who cares about you does, and it's got an incentive to keep you talking.
Well, so I like that feedback, but let's say it wasn't me, right? Like, because I'm blessed. I got a lot of people who love me. I'm very loved. I feel loved. So, like, if I needed some contact, I could probably arrange that contact. And that is true, 2006. And so we'll go back to that in a second, Shaba. So, but there's people who have massive crushing social anxiety. There's people who feel deadly alone. There's people who are surrounded by people they don't feel like they can get the kind of right interaction with for whatever reason. Do you think there's a value there? Like, think about caregiving for elderly, for instance.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely do. I'm not suggesting it's a terrible thing to interact with, but if it's feeding you this like steady diet of you're wonderful and so interesting and so correct, it's gonna make it impossible for you to actually talk to a regular person who has thoughts, opinions, and ideas of their own, I feel like.
So back to Tor just for a minute, because Shava came by. That was probably around 2002, 2006, 2007. Nearly no one knew about it. And I was the project's executive director. We've been around for a while. So I'm like, oh yeah, she kind of told me about it. Running it. I didn't know. I was just like, some cool app you thought was cool. But that's par for my course, isn't it?
I haven't journaled since the last time I crashed your thing, so it's always good to do that.
I made that comment before you came. I said, I'm hoping Carrie comes because she doesn't journal otherwise.
I don't.
So your heart will feel better about it. So
Well, I do. I feel accomplished. Like I did it.
You did it. I did the thing.
I did it.
This
It
light
is
is crazy, Tom.
your light?
Yeah, because the sun is like, normally at this point I switch to the other side, but let's see what happens if I do this. This
You know
I
what?
can break
We
my
should
screen.
we
Ready?
should arrange things. We should arrange things so that Pi.ai and me are talking to you at the same time. That way, if I need to smack the taste out of your mouth, I can do it. And then you can still get like the nurturing adoration of
From her?
Pi.ai. Yeah.
I'll be like, listen, Carrie thinks I'm bad, but she's wrong, isn't she? Oh,
Yes,
Chris,
yes.
everyone knows Carrie's wrong. You
I
couldn't do no wrong.
agree. But yeah, but then I'll get my own Pi.ai and I'm going to make it sound like, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger or something.
The
It'll be
guy
like,
voices are nowhere near as good as
"You are
that.
clearly incorrect."
Guy voices sound like a bunch of, some of them sound like, tech bros and whatever. But that one to me sounds a bit like, what's her name? F.
Faith?
No, well, Faith.
Sounds like someone we work with is what it
Faith
sounds
at
like.
work, yeah. But what's
It's a little weird, to be honest.
Black Widow's little friend. Oh, jeez. She's an actor. She was also in that one with Harry Styles.
Florence Pugh.
That's it. F. Florence Pugh.
Okay.
She also makes me think of Florence Pugh.
Okay. Well, I haven't used the voice function to the extent that you have,
Yeah.
but what I find beneficial about Pi.ai is its versatility. Like it's versed in a wide number of topics, obviously, because it can get information about like anything. But if you feed it something more specific, it can go deeper in that topic with you. Like I wanted to talk one time about my dad's favorite type of airplane. He had one plane. I knew it by name. I went and found an article about it, fed the article because it's not like it's major news, right? It was like this one plane in this one town, fed it into Pi.ai, and it had all sorts of things to say after that about the plane and why people found it interesting and like that kind of stuff. So I like that people who might not find someone else as interested in a topic
right
now have a responsive and interested conversation partner in Pi.ai. Like people who deep dive on things, maybe people on the spectrum even who just can't find someone who wants to hang in there and talk about, their specific thing.
Yeah. No,
like plane crashes or like, I don't know,
plane crashes.
Whatever their thing is. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I see utility in it. Just don't get too big for your britches over there.
Oh, that's fun. Just like Usenet. Oh man, did I live on Usenet in the 90s? News groups and stuff like that. Chat. You could go and talk about your obsession, endlessly. And
Sorry, I was 5.
Shush.
Just kidding. He's like 5 minutes older than me, and I just like to make fun.
I know.
Sorry.
Something you were saying about Pi. Oh yeah, I mean, I do like the versatility. I also like to your point about that you can kind of go down any rabbit hole. I mean, I can do it. I can use it for sort of some emotional venting that I wouldn't want to put on other people. Like, so to your point, you were like, maybe you're not going to get the right kind of enriched kind of relationship, but sometimes I just want to complain. And what's interesting is this ties back to just what we were talking about in journaling, what Anne Frank said, paper is patient. I can say some not happy things to Pi. I can say some real down in the dumps kind of things to Pi, and it can think about that. By the way, the other thing it does that I have not yet tried to use it, like I can talk into it like it's a journal entry. She can gather those up, and I could ask her for things like trends. Hey, over the last week, would you say I was more happy seeming or sad seeming? Your paper journal does not do that without you doing the work. So that's interesting too.
So back when it was safe to keep track, and this is going to be TMI, but like to keep track of your cycles as a woman,
yeah,
I would have the app prompt me 2 days before I was due to say, everything is fine. you're just about to, it's going to be 2 days and you're going to have your cycle start. Because I would have a day where I was just like, oh my gosh, everybody is
What's wrong with
horrible.
everything?
Everything sucks. And then they would remind me. So I could definitely see value in that, in it spotting trends and saying, hey, something happens like every third Thursday of the month. And then you realize it's some meeting that you have to have that you dread or something. Like that could be really valuable. It could also, if hacked, give somebody else really valuable insight into your psyche.
Which is why people stopped using those period apps, because of spotting trends.
Hardy har har. They stopped using them, obviously, because a lot of political things got very dicey to put personal medical data into a third-party app.
But see, Shava points out the thing that you're kind of thinking about, especially you, the lawyer. Your venting is the property of that AI company. I'm not okay with that. I am only insofar as, like, I don't know what they could do with it per se. I mean, I guess prescribe me better meds. But,
I guess it depends how specific you are in your venting. If you're like naming people and talking about the company and, you know, naming specific, you're talking about things that are, you know, secret or something. Maybe don't do that. Maybe save your paper journal for that.
That Bob Nicholson.
Stop it.
I love Bob Nicholson.
You'll regret it someday.
That's what he says. So, no, I think you're right. I think there's some real solid points on that. And I was thinking, so after I said, like, so cavalier, like, I don't care, but I could care. I mean, there was just that thing on LinkedIn News like 2 days ago or so that says that all the most recent cars are narking on people to the insurance companies. Like, whether or not the person wants that information past the insurance company's getting that data from your car. So your car's
like how you drive, like if you speed.
You're like crappy with stoplights or whatever, you know?
Well, I drive a 2011, so I'm not worried about it. But I will say, and this is going to be funny for you, you are like a lot of people's Pi.ai. They tell you stuff and you're like, oh, that's okay. I understand. And I see where you're coming from. Like, you're all warm and snuggly, unless somebody tells you, I'm having this problem at work, or I'm having this problem. I want your advice on how to correct it. And then you're like, here's all the things that you're doing wrong for which you are responsible. But if somebody just says things to you, like they're feeling sad about something or frustrated, then your default is very Pi.ai. You're basically Pi.ai.
I am, yeah. On something too, you know, venting about political issues is something that the Department of Homeland Security is pushing to track. So that I write about politics usually in tech all the time. We used to, I mean, that used to be a joke. Like, I don't know if it was true or not, but used to say, like, if you said something like, man, we should really kidnap Obama, like in my circle of friends, they would say, yeah, well, the satellite just turned in space and now there's like an audio thing tracking you. And we used to be like, ha, ha, ha. But then I was, of course, like, maybe that's not a good one to say. But to Shava's point, like, there's certain privacies that we do sort of presume, and technology and or the Department of Homeland Security is saying, maybe don't presume that anymore.
I wouldn't anyway. I mean, I just wouldn't anyway. It's become much easier to parse data, private and public, such that like maybe at one point it would have been really hard for government agencies, even if they listened in on every conversation happening and recorded stuff, like in theory, it would be really hard for them to sift through it all. Now it's incredibly easy.
Oh, you're so right. Leslie says, by the way, that sounds like time for snitches get stitches talk with the vehicle. That is hilarious.
Listen, you want a new radiator? Shut up.
Question for you. Carrie, would you advise someone to vent about their tax situation?
I advise them to oh no, I wouldn't. Anything that you would consider off the table topics in like a public venue or a party with mixed company, some people whom you know well and others you don't know at all, I wouldn't discuss with Pi.ai. Now, you're a very open person, Chris, so like you would talk about whatever with whoever for the most part. So that's going to be a different answer than for somebody else who likes to keep things private. But I definitely wouldn't share any identifying financial information with an AI, at this point. I mean, unless it was like a walled garden, proprietary, secure, whatever, and you want to use it for something like just for you. Even then, I'd feel a little squirrely about it, but I'd feel better about it than just like feeding it into Pi.ai.
Yeah, I get that.
I'd be careful.
That's Java's test. You got thumbs up.
Oh, nice.
But it's funny you say that because I never do think about the use. Well, first off, I don't like to say, here's my credit card number. Have you seen this on the internet? Like, I'm not like grandma level bad at the internet, but I do overshare, and I do share more than normal people. And I think every now and again about like the work that I've done inside of my chat GPT, and like, I'll be like, I really don't understand this concept. Can you repeat it? Can you repeat it some more? Can you imagine in this universe, like, I don't know, resumes or something? LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft or whatever, or paid by Microsoft, and Microsoft has $10 billion or more into ChatGPT. Can you imagine it saying, I don't know, Brogan has this stuff on his resume, but he's asking us because he doesn't know anything. You see what I'm saying? Like the glue between the things I asked ChatGPT about. Imagine if that somehow filtered through the learnings, when you went to apply for a job. There's some really spooky kind of outlays. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm using that thing until I'm dead, but it's interesting too.
I would worry about the discoverability of those threads if you are ever sued for something. Like say you start talking to your Pi.ai, like, hey, listen, I'm having an affair outside my marriage, and I would like some tips for like how to not get caught doing that, or how do I have credit card transactions be private, like not disclosed on my statement, or like you start asking questions that make it pretty obvious what's going on. At that point, it's not too big a leap to think that it might be relevant to your divorce proceedings or something. So like I already
do that with Google, so it's not that even hard of a jump. Shava says, honestly, I do too. I'm probably the most transparent privacy advocate in the world. It's a feature.
But you choose to be, right? So that's one thing. It's like, I just don't, we need to give people the choice. You should be able to share with whom you want and no one else. And even if it's an AI, you should be able to not have that go elsewhere. Like, you gave your credit card to the waiter to pay for your meal. You didn't post on the internet and say, hey, everybody, come on over and use my credit card. Like, we understand that kind of violation, but somehow people don't understand the same thing. If you like talk dirty or send nudes or have a private conversation about how you're feeling vulnerable right now or whatever, like, we need to respect people's privacy more in general. Just because there's technology that can put everything internal out there doesn't mean it's right. My 2 cents. I'll shut up now. Get off my soapbox.
I raised that question. That was the whole point of the question. I mean, hang on, I gotta find it.
By the way, gorgeous day.
For God's sake, stop talking. Let the woman speak.
See?
It's a gorgeous day outside. I went outside today. Mm-hmm.
Is it though? It looks gray.
Looks gray from your window. No, it's blue from my window. It's perfect.
What did you?
I would show you with the camera, but it'd be all like blown out.
Yeah.
Because too bright. But it's gorgeous.
It's gray out my window.
Ooh, I could take a picture and show you the picture. The picture will show. Let me see.
Used to be shava@eff.org back in the mid 90s, so I have options. Opinions. Shava, by the way, I think
look it out. Blue.
Thoughts. Oh, look at that! It is blue. I can show you gray. Shava, I think you were that when you went to the first PodCamp, because I think that's the address I had in our database 100 years later.
Well, I think there's room for everything we're discovering now. I would love to have an AI that was proprietary and secure to help me go through things like old emails. I might even journal in something like that. But oh, nice. That's not gray. That's gorgeous.
That's clouds everywhere.
It's beautiful. Look at the blue between them. You're a glass half empty kind of guy.
No, that's like a bowl of soup full of glass kind of guy. And also, our pal Chip is here. We're already seeing gray. Look at this. I have the snowiest beard. Hello, Chip.
When did the beard get snowy?
Gray in my hair.
When did the beard turn snowy?
Tor started as tor.eff.org.
The
I never
Electronic
knew that.
Frontier Foundation.
Yes.
Nice.
My beard turned gray. Well, bits of gray, kind of like Jack Black's beard right now. 7 or 8 years ago or something like that. I hadn't found gray hairs until just like last year or so.
It wasn't like when you had kids, it started turning gray.
No, quite lucky. Quite lucky.
A lot of people say that was when, for them.
I remember the difference in the pictures of President Obama before and after.
Oh yeah.
Remember, he like showed up all like dark, and he had somebody showed up used and dead by the end of it with a very silvery.
Leaving aside the pressures of the job, the harrowing nature of campaigning today, the very personal attacks that you and your family alike must endure, I imagine would prematurely age one.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I can't.
I'm not running for anything.
I can't. Oh, that's
every
a good
president
comment.
ages 20 years for 4 years.
Looks
very
like that here, blue or gray.
Blue.
Sunshine in Cleveland.
Nice.
Well, doesn't that just rock?
Let's go. Oh, it's like dog years. The
Dog years,
president.
yeah. That's fair to say.
No, that's true. I mean, you should like get hazard pay or something, because you're definitely coming out of that looking rough compared to how you went in. But it's some people come out of it looking distinguished, like that kind of old, and then other folks they just look old. So I don't know. So congrats on looking distinguished, I guess.
I feel distinguished. So we're past an hour. You want to get out of here? Did you write enough?
Yeah, let's go for a walk. I did. I wrote some stuff in my journal.
I have to eat like my whole lunch that I made and then put next to me and watch it.
Why would you decide to go streaming when you have food that you need to eat?
Oh,
This is why you have 3,000 calories at the end.
good for you, retired. And maybe I will see you in Boston. And that is why I have 3,000 calories, because I got to eat all this junk. Have a good meeting, appointment, something. And
Me, I'm not doing nothing.
No, Shava just said, gotta run. I've got a 3 o'clock appointment. So say, have a good appointment. You have a good whatever you're not doing. And I'll pick you all up later. Thanks for being part of our stream again. See you, everybody.